He doesn't just watch the market, he is the market. People give him equity out of respect. In his last life, he was himself. He is the most knowledgeable man in the world.
I don't always invest, but when I do, it's in the future. Stay dangerous, my friends.
Welcome to the Wealth Mindset with JD Garnier. Listen, I've had every job that you can imagine. I've worked at the grocery store, at the fast food chain. I've sold cell phones. I've worked at warehouses. I've done everything that you can think about. But when I found my calling, that's when I had to change my mindset. Now, you hear me say this all the time. A hustle is nothing but an informal, unorganized business. But a business is nothing but a formalized, organized hustle. So when you find something that you're good at, you find something that you enjoy doing, you find something that you know how to make money at, you have to turn it from a hustle into a business. Now that sounds easy, but it's actually a very difficult thing to do, because not only do you have to change your actions and your behaviors in the format of your business, you got to change your mindset. You have to think like a CEO. And so today I want to talk about going from a hustler to a CEO mindset. Now, today in my wealth management practice, we manage over $300 million. I have a team that helps me with everything from portfolio management to administration to money movement. But when I was first starting, I did everything. I did the marketing, I did the prospecting, I did the calling, I did the research. I did everything in my business. I was the business. And so when people were working with me, they could trust that they would see me throughout the whole process. That's good when you have a handful of clients. But as you build a business and that handful becomes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, now you all over the place. You ripping and running all over the city. I was filing papers at night. I was checking emails at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was driving all over the city of Houston trying to get business. I was hustling. And even though I was making really, really good money, there's only so much I could grow with that type of mentality. And so I had to change my mindset from that of a hustler to that of a CEO. Now, I say all the time, listen, Jeff Bezos does not have to go into the Amazon office every day. He doesn't own a business. He runs a company. And when you are a CEO and have a CEO mindset, you have to think about your business as a company, as an asset that is separate and apart from yourself. And so when I started thinking like that, I had to take a bird's eye view of my whole business and make a decision of where I was most valuable and where I could use other resources, other people, and other processes to free up my time, because you can't sell a hustle. So, I talked about this during my last panel discussion. There's a thing that I call the HBCUs of business, from hustle to business to company to unlimited value. And for all of us who are entrepreneurs or business owners, we all start out as a hustle. When you open a business, you're doing everything. You're getting the clients, you're doing the accounting, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the payroll, you're building the website, you're running the social media. A business owner has to do everything. And so the first step in getting out of that hustler's mentality is to formalize and organize. Listen, the formalities are necessary. You cannot run a legitimate business if you're doing it without all of the necessary paperwork. You got to formalize your business. You have to choose the right type of entity, and you have to make sure you have all of your documentation that legitimizes you. You want to be legitimate in the eyes of the business institution in the state that you're in, but you also want to be legitimate in the eyes of the financial institutions, because that's where you have access to capital. That's where you're able to grow and manage your business, but it has to be formalized. And organizationally, what you need to do is create systems and processes that are repeatable so that every client and every customer has the same experience. It doesn't matter if you go to Chick-fil-A in Florida or California. The food is going to taste the same, the structure is going to look very similar, and the experience is going to be almost identical because they have a formalized process and a way of doing things. If the Chick-fil-A in Florida tastes completely different than the one in California, they would not have a business that had any value because it was unpredictable. It wasn't formalized. And that's how you have to think about yourself as an entrepreneur. Every customer you get, every client you get has to have the same or similar experience. You curate that type of experience through the systems that you create in your business. And so formalization and organization legitimizes you in the business world. But that's not enough because now you're still a business owner, but you're still doing everything. You have to take a vacation, the business goes down. You get sick, the sales drop. If you don't make the phone call, the deal is not going to close. In that circumstance, you are the business. And so if something happens to you, the business has no value. And so once you have a formalized, organized, legitimate business, the next step is to turn that business into a company. How do you do that? Automate, delegate, and separate. Automate everything that you can using technology. And there's no shortage of technology available for business owners right now. Delegate everything you can to systems, to people, and to processes, and separate yourself from the business. See the business, view the business, and maintain it as a separate entity from you. That business has value, value that you can sell on the open market or transfer to your children and create generational wealth. But you can't do that if you're hustling because a hustle has no value. Nobody's going to write a check for a hustle. I don't care how much money you make. A business has limited value, but it's tied up in your life. It's tied up in your work and your efforts. And so if you're not working, the business is valueless. But a company has value separate and apart from you. You can take a vacation for a week. The company's still going to be there. You can be sick for a few days and the money's still going to be coming in. With a company, you can get an appraisal and have an attached value to that company, a value that you can sell, a value that you can scale, and a value that you can give to your children. And once you have a company, this allows you to become a visionary because now you have your time back. You have automated, delegated, and separated yourself from the business, and now you have your time. Now you can think about all of those ideas that you've had. Now you can be strategic. Now you can move around and make deals because you're not bogged down running the business. You can be a visionary and create unlimited value based on your knowledge and skills. You can't do that at the hustle phase. You can't do that at the business phase. And so your ultimate goal with whatever you're doing is to create enough value that you take that hustle and you turn it into a business. You take that business and you turn it into a company. And now that you have a company, you have unlimited value. You can grow it as big as you want to grow it. But it starts with organization. It starts with thinking like a CEO. See, I used to be used to doing everything. I used to fill out all of the paperwork. I used to feel like I had to be the one to customize the portfolio and I had to do this. And it was very hard for me to trust other people to do it. It was very hard for me to teach other people the way that I did it. It was very hard for me to detach myself and let go from things that I was normally used to doing. But that was the only way I was going to free my time up to utilize my true skill, which is thinking beyond, which is being strategic. But you got to think like a CEO. The CEO is not running the day-to-day operations of a company. He's not in the management meetings. The CEO takes a bird's eye view of the business and evaluates what is working and what is not, and comes up with ideas and solutions to continue that business forward. That's how you have to think. As long as you're thinking like a hustler, as long as you're ripping and running and doing everything, as long as you are bogged down with the day-to-day operations of the business, you will never have value beyond your own life. The business is tied up in you. So if something happens to you, there is no business. That's how we're going to close the racial wealth gap. Right now, we have over 3 million businesses in our community, and 95% of those businesses are single employee businesses. That means it doesn't matter how valuable those businesses are, they tied up into the life of one person. And so if something happens to that person, the business is gone. And so the only way that we are truly going to have wealth is to separate ourselves from those businesses, to create entities that have value separate and apart from our life, so that we can pass it to our children or we can sell it on the open market. But in order for that to happen, you got to stop thinking like a hustler and start thinking like a CEO.
If God is for us, then who is against us? Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and take the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and take the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top.
Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot.